Welcome to the BloomCheck workshop. My name is Cliff Omart and I work for Sure Harvest, and I'll be your host for this workshop. First, I'm going to talk about what is BloomCheck. Then I'll talk about what it takes for you to qualify for the BloomCheck program. Once you understand that, hopefully you'll want to join the program, so we'll talk about how you can join the BloomCheck program. And much of the time of this workshop I'll spend going over the guides and the suggestions that I've put together to help you qualify for the BloomCheck program and achieve certification. So what is BloomCheck? BloomCheck is a third-party certified program for the sustainable production of cut flowers and greens in California. What third-party means is the certifier of the program is a nonprofit that has no relationship to the cut flower growers that it certifies or the Cut Flower Commission, which is the highest level of a certification program that you can get. The program was developed by California flower farmers for California flower farmers. So it's a bottom-up program. I worked with a group of 6 flower farmers put together by the California Cut Flower Commission for over 2 years to help develop the cut flower certification program. The program is accredited and certified by Protected Harvest, which is a national nonprofit organization that certifies sustainably grown crops. And the BloomCheck program and the BloomCheck logo can be used in marketing your flowers, and it also can be used for you to tell your good story to others about how you sustainably grow your flowers on your farm. So what does it take to qualify for BloomCheck? First, you need to achieve 70% or more of the farming practice points in each of your flower production blocks of all of the practice points available in the BloomCheck program. Also, you'll need to adhere to the Whole Foods Market's Responsibly Grown Program Pesticide Do Not Use list. Recently, Whole Foods Markets developed and launched a program called Responsibly Grown for produce and cut flowers that it sells in its stores. Part of that program, they assembled a list of high-risk pesticide active ingredients, and it is not allowed to use pesticides containing those active ingredients on certified flower production blocks. Then, of course, you need to join the BloomCheck program, pay certification fees, and successfully pass the audit, and then your flower farm will be BloomCheck certified. Certification is done every year, so it's important to keep this certification current so you can continue to market your flowers using the BloomCheck logo. So how do you join the BloomCheck program? First, you contact the California Cut Flower Commission, telling them that you're interested in joining the BloomCheck program, and they will give you an application form that you will fill out and return to the Cut Flower Commission, and they'll in turn submit this to Protected Harvest. Then you'll need to fill out the online self-assessment of practices that I'll talk about in a few minutes. And then Protected Harvest, once they know you're interested and have filled out the form for BloomCheck, they will contact you and arrange to come at a convenient time for you to do the audit. And then before the audit, of course, you'll need to prepare for it and then undergo the audit. And if you qualify, then you'll be BloomCheck certified. Now I'm going to spend the remainder of the time in this workshop to go over the guides that we've developed and some of the suggestions that'll help you qualify. We'll start by talking about the BloomCheck practice self-assessment. That is something that you will use to record the practices that you're doing in the flower production blocks. This online self-assessment will summarize for you the practice points that you achieve for each of the practices that you record that you're doing. And that way you'll be able to tell ahead of time before the audit if you qualify or not for BloomCheck. The system also will provide for the auditor the list of practices that you said you're doing in your production blocks, and they'll bring this report out to your flower farm for the audit and ask you to verify that you are in fact doing the practices that you say you're doing. The second really important helpful guide for you is what I've called the BloomCheck companion document. There's a brief introduction to the BloomCheck program in the companion document, and the document lists in order as they appear in the online system all of the BloomCheck practices. And for each practice, it indicates how many points you get if you do that practice. And very importantly, for every practice, it lists what the auditor is going to want you to show them to verify that you're in fact doing that practice. Now let's talk about the BloomCheck self-assessment of practices. I worked with those 6 flower farmers that I've already mentioned to identify what we thought were the most important practices that should be in the certification program, and we grouped them into 12 modules. There are practices related to production management, pest management, water management, energy management, post-harvest, habitat, materials handling, and what this means is basically the hazardous materials that you have on your farm and how you manage those, as well as how you manage paper, metal, and things like that. And then the last module is social responsibility. So what you see in this column here is the number of practice points available in each of these modules and the number of practices in each of these modules. Now, I think I've mentioned already, some practices you get 1 point, some you get 3, and some you get 5. The practices have been divided into ones that you would do for the entire farm. So no matter how many production blocks you have, that practice you're going to be doing on all of them. And then there are a few practices that you will do on each production block that might differ from one block to another. And I'll talk about this some more when I demonstrate the online self-assessment system. Now I will end this video segment because the next video segment I will go into great detail about how to use the online system.